Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 126, Bypassing Emotions. Hello, hello, hello. How are you, beautiful friends? I'm very excited. I'm recording my podcast a little bit early today because I am taking my littlest, Arlo, camping. Just him and I are going for a quick overnight camping to my favorite campground in North Carolina, and I'm super excited about it. We went shopping. We got all of our favorite foods. We have our hiking agenda set up. My husband bought a cot for camping for himself, and I asked him if I could use his new cot, so I get to take it on a test run today, and I'm super excited about it. So I'll be up off the ground and it'll be great. The weather's supposed to be perfect too, so it's a little tradition that Arlo wants to start. We went camping alone last year at this time, and so he asked for that again this year, and he says he wants to have a mommy-son solo camping trip every year as a new tradition, and I'm happy to oblige him. So we get to do that this afternoon. So today's topic I want to talk to you all about is bypassing our emotions, and what I mean by bypassing our emotions, and really dive into why acknowledging our feelings is super, super important for us. So the first part of the podcast is when you are out of alignment with yourself. And I think a lot of you guys can recognize that you might be out of alignment with yourself and what you actually want to be doing when you find yourself over drinking and you wake up in the morning and you say, why do I keep doing this? This isn't how I want to feel, right? So like, you want to be doing something, but you find yourself not doing it, right? So it's like, it's this struggle. You want to break the habit of over drinking or even overeating, and you find yourself not doing those things. That's sort of like out of alignment with who you want to be as a person or what your goals are in your life. Or you might notice that over drinking or, eating at night in front of the TV, whatever your sort of regular behaviors are, is preventing you or distracting you from doing some things around the house that you might want to do. It might be something little like, I've been meaning to clean out that closet, or my car is such a mess, or something like that, right? And you just get home and you fall into your normal habits, and you might drink, or you might sit in front of the TV, or you might sit on the couch and scroll, right? Some of those things that you're doing are out of alignment with the things that you actually want to be doing, but this is what's happening. Your brain has been programmed by you to do those things over time. Like you started doing them a while back, right? And you're like, oh, that's fun. Your brain's like, oh, that was a quick, easy reward, right? I didn't have to work hard. I didn't have to suffer to get that little hit of pleasure. And I'm going to motivate you to do that again. And then years go by and we find ourselves with this pretty hard entrenched habit of, numbing out at night. And you know that you don't want to have this habit, right? And so when you think about changing, or you listen to podcasts, or you read books, or you tell yourself you're not going to keep doing it, right? And you still do. So that just doesn't feel good. It feels like uncomfortable, right? So that's just a little signal that you're not doing the things that you actually want to be doing. And that goes into this topic of bypassing your emotions. So just a little refresher about our emotions and our feelings. I use the words interchangeably sometimes, but when you don't listen to those feelings, right? So for you, if you're over drinking or if you're overeating and you're disappointed in that about yourself, right? And you feel disappointed in the morning when you wake up and your mind, the first place your mind goes to is like reviewing of all the things that you did last night, right? How much you drank, how much you ate, why didn't you stick to your plans, all of that. And you feel this disappointment. And then we bypass those feelings and we just kind of shove it under the rug and we're like, whatever, I'll do better tonight. And I'm trying, and you just kind of like push it away, right? And you actually don't really dig into it and acknowledge that you're disappointed and process those feelings and do something about it. Like legitimately do something about it. Like reach out for support, ask somebody to support you, sign up for a coaching program, make a drink plan, like all of the tools that I tell you guys and teach you on the podcast. Like if you don't do those things, you bypass that for yourself, right? You're bypassing that disappointment that you should be paying attention to. Does that make sense? So that's where we know where we're out of alignment with who we really want to be. We're feeling this disappointment, but we're not doing anything about it, right? We just find ourselves falling back into the same behaviors. And this is not an opportunity for you to beat yourself up, by the way. Please don't. I just want to teach you the importance of listening to your feelings when they are present. And the disappointment that you have about your habits right now is something that you want to listen to. It's there for a reason. Okay. So I was speaking with some people about this morning, and it's like, in the moment we have these thoughts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? So you say you're not going to drink, or you say you're only going to have one, let's say. And then in the moment, your brain's like, it doesn't matter, right? And then you feel this sort of like tug of war. Like when you think it doesn't matter, it doesn't feel great. Okay. It doesn't feel like hopeful. It doesn't feel positive. It doesn't feel loving. It feels like a disconnect. It feels like you're going against what you really want, right? So it doesn't feel great. Your emotion is apathy, disregard, something like that. And then the action that comes from that is drinking or eating the things that you actually don't want to be doing, right? And then that creates a result of you not letting your goals matter and what the real you really wants to matter. Okay, so if you want to stop over drinking and that's something that you're working on, and you let those in the moment thoughts like it doesn't matter, and you have that drink or drinks, right? You're just shoving away what is important to you, right? So that's just creating a result of you choosing your goals don't matter again, right? So we want to pay attention. That's bypassing yourself and not listening to that little squeak in the moment when you're like, it doesn't matter. And if you pause to listen to that feeling that came up after you had that thought, you would recognize that you were not comfortable in that moment. It wasn't feeling good for you to keep going and having the food or the alcohol, right? It feels like a conflict. And so when you bypass that for yourself, you're creating more problems on the other end, right? So you wake up in the morning again, feeling that disconnect, disappointment in yourself, right? And then we numb out from that again because we recognize that we're not doing what we say that we're going to do. And that doesn't feel good when you carry that around with yourself all day. And then we just have more fuck it's, right? More of the same sort of I'm stuck patterns. Okay. So that's one area where it's so important for you all to stop and pause and recognize what you are feeling before you have the drinks, before you have the extra food that you may not want to have. Okay. So especially if you are working on this, especially if you are actively making drink plans, like I recommend, you plan your drinks 24 hours in advance. And if you're one of my clients, you make a weekly drink plan. And in the moment, your brain has an urge or says something like it doesn't matter or just one won't hurt. You want to pause and notice how that feels in your body. If it feels off, if it feels uncomfortable in any way, you want to be like, well, I'm guessing this is trying to tell me something. I like to call them little warning flags. That emotion is there to tell you something. It has information to deliver. And if it feels off in any way, it's because you're about to do something that is going against what you really want to do. And when you do that over and over again, and if you don't listen to those feelings and you bypass yourself, you get out of alignment with yourself and you stop trusting yourself. That's where we come up with these beliefs about ourselves that, like, no matter what I do, I don't follow through. It's because you've bypassed those little red warning flags over and over again, and you've lost that trust and connection with yourself. Okay. The other area I want to talk about is feelings that you might have when something unexpected happens. So say, like with COVID, or, maybe there's been a recent death or something, right? And you feel sad about that. And you don't acknowledge that you are feeling sad to yourself or to other people, and you try to push through and you show up and you try to go through the motions of your day, not acknowledging that you actually feel terrible and you're sad and you're processing grief and emotions. You are bypassing that. And when you do that, the same result happens. It doesn't feel right. Okay, so you try to show up, you put a smile on your face, and you're just like, I just need to push through. I shouldn't be feeling this way right now. And then you have a more tendency to want to escape that at the end of the day. You're bypassing your own emotions, okay? The same thing with worry. I was recently talking to a client about worry, and she did a great job in acknowledging that she was worried and going to her journal and writing out the thoughts that were causing the worry and offering her a different solution. Instead of worry, she, changed her thoughts to not feel worried. And she's like, well, if worry wasn't there, what would be after worry? And it was confidence for her. But she couldn't have gotten there until she acknowledged the worry in the first place. She acknowledged that she was feeling worried, and instead of thinking it as a problem and letting that worry drive her to drink because she didn't like feeling that way, she's like, I am worried. Let me go figure out why. And she acknowledged that for herself instead of just shoving it under the rug and bypassing it and doing something like drinking or something to take the edge off the worry or the discomfort that she was feeling. Okay. And this is a really important lesson for us all, because if she hadn't acknowledged that feeling of worry and she went on to drink, let's say, in the moment that she was feeling worried, the next morning she would have woke up and had regret and disappointment with herself. Okay. So she wouldn't have been able to get to the root of why she was feeling worried in the first place and offered herself a solution. So now she's got to deal with the fact that she's disappointed and she has regret about drinking when she didn't really want to drink. Okay. So that just prolongs the suffering, right? So now we got to clean up the thinking on the overdrink. And now we have to, let ourselves feel a little disappointment. Right. And usually we don't have time to sit around and sort of like get to the root of these things. Right. So we're distracted by the disappointment and the regret from the overdrink. And we don't get to the root of why we drink in the first place. So if you just slow down and acknowledge the worry off the get, right? Like you acknowledge that you're feeling worried and you go figure out why you're feeling worried in your journal and you write out your thoughts and you recognize yourself and you acknowledge and you don't bypass the worry. You're like, yep, I'm worried. Let me figure out why I'm worried. Then you can get to the other side of it and you don't look to alcohol as a solution and you get to the root. So that's why our emotions are so important. They do have something to tell us. Every single one that you experience has something to tell us, and they are meant for us. Our feelings are meant for us. So if you're suffering from a loss of a loved one, somebody died unexpectedly, maybe there's a loss in a relationship, or maybe there's a loss of a job or a change in a job or something like that, and there's a grieving that needs to go on or in the relationship, and you bypass that and you don't give yourself the space and the opportunity to first acknowledge to yourself that you're feeling that way, and you just try to pretend like everything's okay and you try to go through the motions of your life as if you haven't experienced something big, you are denying yourself your true authentic experience, and that doesn't feel good for you. And then you have thoughts like, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and I don't want to feel this way, and I don't want people to worry about me, and all of that creates that disconnect in your body. And you're going to notice that, and you won't like it, And that's when we are tend to want to find alcohol or food or scrolling or an escape somehow from our own disconnect, our own emotions. Are you guys following me on that? So it's so important to not bypass your own feelings. The best way I can describe it is when you notice yourself having an emotional experience, you want to name that feeling and say, yes, I am experiencing sadness. I am experiencing worry right now. I'm experiencing guilt. I'm experiencing disappointment or sadness. And that's okay for me to be a human, to experience these emotions. And I wonder what this emotion is trying to tell me. And if you just gave yourself a moment to hear it and to acknowledge it, it immediately becomes softer. It immediately becomes not a problem because you're acknowledging that you're a human that is having an emotional experience. And as women, and just generally in our society, men have it too, or conditioned this way too, we are told by our society that we shouldn't outwardly express or acknowledge our emotions, right? Especially for us women, like we're not supposed to be too loud. We're not supposed to be emotional in the boardrooms, right? Like we're supposed to be moms that have our shit together and not share that we might be worried or sad or depressed. I mean, all of this does a disservice to us because when we then are in the moments of our emotions, we think it's a problem and we think we shouldn't be having them. And then we try to bypass ourselves and, either change our thoughts or avoid our feelings. Or for most of us that'll listen to this podcast, we tend to drink when we don't want to experience our current emotional experience. So it can be arranged from, loss, grief, death, guilt, disappointment, those kind of heavier emotions to just like social anxiety, right? Or feeling shy, right? Like when you're in a social situation and you're experimenting with not drinking and you go in and it feels awkward, right? And we're like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling awkward, right? It's like you're bypassing that you are feeling awkward. And you don't want to do that. So my advice for you today is to acknowledge the feelings that you're having. Listen to them. Okay? In the moment when your brain is giving you an urge or a thought about drinking or eating and it's not really what you want to do, you want to acknowledge that feeling, that it's trying to get your attention. Name it, describe it, and listen to it and let that be present instead of running to escape from that feeling or telling yourself that you shouldn't be feeling that way, because it just causes more problems on the other hand. If you bypass yourself, you will have more discontent, more disappointment in your life, and bigger problems will come, and you'll find yourself numbing out and wanting to escape more and more and more. So to solve that, we stop and acknowledge and allow our feelings to be present instead of bypassing them. And this is exactly the work that we do inside of my Stop Over Drinking and Start Living program. This is what we jump in first with, is learning to acknowledge and feel our feelings. And when you do this work, you break that cycle of letting those feelings drive your actions of drinking, and you get more authority and agency over the things that you're doing and how you are feeling, and you end up becoming empowered with your relationship with alcohol and yourself, and following through and becoming more in aligned with who you want to be. All right, my friends. So if you want to learn more about joining my 6-month coaching program, I highly recommend that you click that link in the show notes. Watch the 3 short videos there where I describe the problem of overdrinking, the solution, and how we solve it inside the program, and then all the details. And I'm filling up right now, so you want to get your applications in. And if you haven't heard about the conference, Stop Over Drinking and Start Living, the conference that's happening the weekend of June 4th, which is just 2 weeks away. If you join the 6-month coaching program, you will have access to that conference for free. And it will be a beautiful way to kick off your journey to permanently changing your relationship with alcohol and start living the life that you want to live. And if you want to check out the conference and then decide if you want to join my program, you are welcome to do that. It's $97 for the whole weekend. All of the details are also found in the link here in the show notes. The URL for that is angelamascenik.com/the conference. And all the details of the session times and the agenda for the conference. It's a virtual conference. All of the sessions will be recorded. You don't have to come to every live session to get the full value. Every session that you can attend is well worth the $97 that you are investing into coming, and you'll have all the recordings. So don't worry if you can't make it. We'll have same day recordings available to you if you sign up and register. And just investing in that for yourself and really committing to doing something about the overdrinking will set you up for success. So I can't wait to see who joins me for the conference and who wants to join me long term for Stop Overdrinking and Start Living. I love you all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.